And most of the people, as they wrap up the year, look to travel in the Christmas and New Year holidays. So it's a very, very busy period for hotels, the airline companies, and platforms like EaseMyTrip. So it's a perfect time to talk about the festive season demand trends. Prashant Pitti, the co-founder of EaseMyTrip, is here with us on the show now. Prashant, morning. Thank you for joining in. This is Reema here. That's the first question, right? Could you give us an indication of how volumes have been so far in October, November, and the first half of December?
Well, firstly, thank you, Reema, for having us on the show. So, Reema, of course, this is a travel season with Christmas and New Year perfectly lining up with long weekend, and because of which we have seen an increase in 20 to 30% in advance booking. The season is looking perfect. One of the bigger reasons why this particular quarter does really, really well in travel is we have 3.5 million people who travel from outside to India, basically the diaspora, because they have their winter vacations over there and they come to India, and because of which the demand goes up even dramatically. So, and this is actually...
Got that.
This is
3.5 million people of inbound travelers, right? Expected.
Correct.
You just shared a number, sorry to interrupt you, 20 to 30%. Are these the advance bookings for the Christmas to New Year period on a year-on-year basis?
That is correct. This is the advance booking right now.
For the last week. And what about, October, November? Because that also coincided with Diwali. So what were the volume, the numbers like?
Diwali and also cricket, even bigger festival for the country.
So could you give us some numbers?
So overall, I may not be able to speak for the exact numbers for what has happened in the last 2.5 months, but I could say that we are very confident that this is going to be a blockbuster quarter for the company and also for the travel industry, especially with international. There's so many international, destinations which have become, on the arrival, right? The visa facilities have been removed. For example, for Thailand, for Sri Lanka, and for other countries where we are seeing demand to rise up dramatically.
Okay, yeah, that's really good to hear that, things are looking so solid. Prashant, thanks for joining us. This is Pavitra. You mentioned the Cricket World Cup, so I have to ask you, in the light of that as well, what is the hotels to airfare kind of mix? I know the hotels part has been going up anyway, right? It was around 9% of your revenue in Q2. So how is that looking now?
So at the time of listing, which is 2.5 years ago, 97% of our bookings were flight bookings, and only 3% was everything else. Now, in the last 2.5 years, we have shifted it to become 90% as flight and 10% to everything else. And we are looking forward to continue up that number. Our hotel business is growing by more than 100% year on year. While, of course, the flight business is also growing, but hotel business is growing even faster. So hence, we are in the next couple of years, we are looking for this shift to become 80 to 20 purely by organic. And if there are any inorganic acquisitions which happen in between, it could be even further.
Prashant, just give us the sense, and when things are looking so solid, when there is this kind of demand, does discounting typically come down at this kind of period? And what is the change that you've seen on that front?
See, discounting is actually a prerogative of competition. And right now we are seeing competition to go a little bit low. And also at EaseMyTrip, as I've already said this on your television before, that we are more focused on creating very strong, profitable company, just like always. And hence, we are not chasing the GMV growth as much we are chasing the profitability growth for this particular financial year. Which is why for us, we have taken a little bit step back from discounting compared to the competition, and competition has also gone a little bit down during this period, which is why overall you could see that the profitability would continue to rise for the company.
Your hotels business had grown by 60% in Q2. Now it's growing at 100%?
That is correct. I mean, I was talking in terms of year on year put together. If you see for FY21 versus FY22 versus FY3, our hotel business has grown by more than 100%. Every year.
Got that. Okay, and how long will it take for the hotel business contribution to increase to 20% from the current 10%? And you also spoke about organically, right? Which leaves the door open for you making acquisitions. So what's the thought process there?
See, you would know that we are acquiring companies. We have acquired 3 holiday companies recently, only in the last quarter. And as I've said this before, our flight business is rock solid. we do not need acquisitions on the flight business side, but on businesses which are relatable, which are like hotel business, holiday business, cab business. We are continuously on a lookout for companies like EaseMyTrip, which are profitable, very disruptive in nature, asset-light businesses. So there are a few companies which we are looking at for the hotel segment as well. And as that happens, the numbers can shift very dramatically. But right now, we are looking for 2 to 3 years time period for it to become 80-20.
Okay, 2 to 3 years, got that. Prashant, we also wanted to get your split between what the international and domestic part is. Of course, international would be the more margin, the higher margin business. So take us through that split as well.
Sure. Prior to listing, our 85% of business was domestic and 15% was international. Right now, that number looks at 70-30. And I think that there is still more scope around that. We believe that this number should basically stabilize at 60-40, 60% business coming from domestic and 40% coming from international. And the primary reason why this number has changed dramatically is a lot of travel agencies have shut shop during the COVID times, which were primarily dealing in international ticketing. Hence, a lot of international ticketing has come towards the OTA side, online travel agent sides, and because of which we are also seeing rise in that number.
So Prashant, if you had to zoom out and take a 3-year look ahead, right? Apart from this big, global trend of increasing travel, what would be the other trends that you are picking up, or what would be the strategy of EaseMyTrip? One, of course, is increase the hotel business contribution, make some more acquisitions there. But tell us 2 or 3 things that you are working on.
See, I'll tell you the biggest driver for our growth is going to come from overseas business. Not that Indians traveling abroad, that will continue to happen, but that we consider as India business. But as you would know that we have started EaseMyTrip.ae, basically, which is catering to people in Middle East. It's in Arabic, people can pay in dirham. Similarly, we have launched EaseMyTrip.uk, which is basically catering to European market. And very soon we are going to start with EaseMyTrip.us. Now imagine if EaseMyTrip is one of the most cost efficient and tightly shipped run company in India. Imagine if we start competing with the foreign entities where they are charging anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 rupees per passenger as convenience fees, while we are providing the same service for 0 convenience fees because our entire operations and technology still continues to run out of India. We are very sure we'll be able to get very strong footholds in those countries. And the results are in scene. You can see the Dubai numbers. Our Middle East numbers are growing rapidly, as we have shared in our results. And we are looking forward to continue with that, to continue our growth in other countries as well. So this is one of the bigger drivers for the company, where we want to become an OTA for the world, not just for the India.
And when do you launch US platform?
That is, there are some regulatory challenges. We are looking forward to solve them and launch ASAP.
Okay, Prashant, it's good to have you on the show, and it's good to hear you sound this optimistic about, the big holiday season that's coming up, and of course, this wedding cricket season that we just went through as well. Thanks a lot for taking the time today. That is the management of EasyTrip Planners. We do need to get into a short break, but on the